for the camera. And then...
Oh, wait, we don't want that, though, because now we're backwards. And my tattoos will be on the wrong arm.
Like it's not
does
consistent?
This read correctly?
It just, yeah.
Well, then that's what's important.
Well,
not the tattoos.
We have it controlled. So that's what it is. And we are live. I'm just trying to see how I can track you. How do I attach you? What's this button here? Link? Invite. No, that's just a co-host. I don't know how to tag you in it.
No, we don't want to co-host.
No, we want to invite you so we can get more views from your people. At minimum, we'll get you the video and you can post it later.
Very cool. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everybody. We're here with another Coffee with Mike. Melissa Glasgow from Remax in Farmington, New Mexico.
Yes.
It's great to have you on. You've been in this industry for, good Lord, how long have you been doing this?
So I just celebrated 8 years of doing business, more than 8 years now. It's been a wild ride and it's been a lot of fun.
Okay.
So are we looking at them? Are we looking at each other?
Either or, like it's a room conversation. I don't know that's why I have I just doodle. So that way it looks like I'm doing something, but keep my hands focused.
So 8 years in the industry. Okay. Something that's really fun is whenever I first got licensed, I got licensed to be a transaction coordinator in the beginning of my journey. So I learned all of the back-end paperwork very, very well from the get-go. So that was really beneficial to be able to then transition. I did transaction coordination for 9 months, and then I said, let me in coach.
Okay.
I want to be where the people are.
Wonderful.
And I think it really gave me a really good advantage to already know my forms to start writing my contracts well from the get-go.
Okay. So I've run into more and more people who they kind of have a side hustle as a transaction coordinator, or they are a full-time transaction coordinator, or I'll get involved with a realtor and they say, okay, talk to my TC about everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, so the transaction coordinator as a job, like you said, you're on the back end, you're doing paperwork. And that job allowed you to understand the documents and understand the process. Then you jumped into the front-facing portion of buying houses and selling houses.
Yes.
So then you were confident in your documents.
Yes.
And then you were able to have those conversations with your buyers and your sellers.
Yes.
Which allowed you, and we were talking about it yesterday, it allowed you to have a better relationship with them.
Yeah. So something that I've really prided myself on is, am I a salesperson? Absolutely, I'm a salesperson. However, I am stronger at building relationships than I am being the person getting the deal.
Okay.
Of course, I get the deal. Don't get me wrong. I get the deal. But I really focus on relationship building with every aspect of the process, from meeting my buyers or sellers at the very get-go, to building relationships with our lenders, to our title company, to our home inspectors, appraisers even. So I really feel that puts me at a very good advantage to be able to negotiate, to get the deal done, to make my buyers and sellers feel like they've been taken care of and not just a number on a spreadsheet.
Right.
And if that's what you prefer, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I can do that too, or maybe I'm not the right realtor for you in that aspect, and that's okay. So.
Well, and it brings, we were kind of interviewing and prepping for this conversation, and one of those was your relationship versus transaction. One of the questions I bring to my realtors is, what's bugging you, or what's something that's not working for you that we need to talk about to the people? Yeah. And for you, it was, a big box, click button, get mortgage place. Yeah. Versus a smaller local lender is what you had put out there. Can you explain that scenario so they kind of have some backstory?
Absolutely. So really the main thing that's going to get you to get your goals accomplished is communication. So you need to be able to speak with your, in this aspect we're talking about lending, is it's so much easier to be able to know you are going to talk to your lender. You might get their processor or you part of their team, but you're going to get your lender every time. Whereas sometimes when you're calling, I called it a big box lender. No disrespect to them, they're freaking wonderful too. But you're going to get the call taker of the day, and you might feel frustrated because you have to explain things 16 times every time you call, and that's kind of difficult for people, especially when they're feeling at their most vulnerable. one of the hardest things that we can do is to open ourselves up, our finances up to a stranger, and be at the, you're feeling like you're getting judged.
Right. Like every time a new person comes on, you don't know their name, you don't know who they are. There's a level of distrust already. It's like, how much do I need to tell this person?
Yeah.
And we all know from this industry that honestly, you have to have everything out there. The problem is when you're starting to share it with a human, it's a little difficult.
Yeah.
And then if it's a human you don't know, it's even more complicated because you're like, I don't know who this person is. They don't need to know my business. So you got this big box lender, like you said, and I have a problem with them. I don't like them. So you can send all your loans over to us. But when it comes down to it, you have that phone tree, the 1-800 number, and then you get to the person. You say, well, I have a loan. Okay, well, what's your social security number? I don't want to give you my number. Well, what's your loan number? Why would I have my loan number? I've only done it once. So it gets a little complicated. You're already frustrated with this operator. And then from that operator, they take you to the department that might be managing your file. So within all of that, we're distrustful. So then it comes back to knowing your team. And yes, there's a lot of lenders in my position where we do have an assistant or we have a processor. We have a coordinator, like, the realtors have TCs. But these are people that to a degree have been introduced. You have a name that you can continue to go back to. And that can help with that trust and moving the transaction along. But you were talking about how, when they're so far apart from the buyer to the actual lender, as far as those stages of people, they didn't fit a picture that the lender was trying to push them into. What was your scenario there? What was happening there?
So my take on all that is a lot of times those big lenders, they have a cookie cutter that the buyer has to fit into. And if for some reason they don't fit in perfectly, the deal is dead.
Yep.
Whereas if you've got somebody local that understands, let me back it up just a little bit, because in New Mexico, I took a class a couple of years ago from Scott Flores. He's a great educator in our industry, real estate industry, with manufactured homes. And he gave a statistic, and I don't remember what it was now, but we have a huge rate of manufactured home sales in the state of New Mexico. And which is great. It's a great option for housing. If you're speaking with a lender, let's just pull this out of my hat, in Pittsburgh, and they're following their scripts, because that's how we all learn. We learn off of scripts. And they don't understand that, okay, well, this manufactured home is on a permanent foundation. Maybe the title hasn't been purged yet because, well, you don't have to pay. You pay different taxes when it's still taxed as personal property rather than real estate.
Right.
So there may be some certain things, and they'll just kibosh your loan right then and there. And you are already 85% into your transaction timeline. You're closing in 10 days, and the lender denies your loan. So it's kind of frustrating in that sense. So what's really nice is to be able to have maybe a lender that's more localized, that understands our area and our communities, and they know that, oh yeah, no, this is all we need to do. We need to call Scott Flores. We need to get this deactivated title or whatever it is, the affidavit of a fixture, things like that. They're more versed in it.
They're knowledgeable. They have experience in it, and that works in those regions. And I have the opposite hurdle, the opposite problem, where I'm licensed in 22 states myself. My company's in 44 states now. And when we come across an issue, let's say I'm in Missouri, I've got a transaction in Missouri, I need to gain that trust of that realtor and those buyers. And so back to your point of communication, it's, hey, I'm not the local industry expert for all your stuff. What hurdles do you guys run into? What things do I need to be prepared for? So that way we're able to service your transaction as accurately as possible. And that's it's such a hurdle, because we get a borrower pre-qualified, and then we get to their realtor and we're like, hey, we have them pre-qualified. You don't know me. I'm calling from a New Mexico number, which is always
always fun.
Yeah. They think I'm some kind of spam caller. I'm like, no, I actually live here. But it's that trust level, it's that communication level that has to come in. And like you said, those big box lenders, they have their box, they have their cookie cutter that their transactions fit, that make their lives easier. And while it works on a business level, when it comes down to the individual, not everyone's the same.
I just thought of something else too. So, the state of New Mexico, we have the MFA, the Mortgage Finance Authority, for your down payment assistance.
Right.
You cannot, that MFA is not serviced by every single lender available.
Right.
So that's something too that, conventional might work great for you, but guess what? We can get you in a better situation if you do an MFA. Stuff like that too. So I think that's why it's important to chat with your lender and your realtor. Make sure that you are getting the best fit for your situation. It might be that cookie cutter conventional loan. That's fantastic. I hope it is for you.
But you have to check all of your options.
Exactly.
And that's where having multiple people, working towards giving you wise counsel. And you say, okay, hey, this lender told me about these options. Well, then the realtor can say, wait a sec, what about this option? Have you looked at this option? Not saying that or don't know it's going to work for them, but it sounds like there's a benefit in there that can work.
Right. And is the property going to qualify? That's another big one too,
right.
Because we've got some, you might be an FHA buyer and this property that you really want just definitely will not go FHA with appraisal conditions.
Right.
And you don't have the upfront money to pay for the appraisal conditions
right.
to get the loan qualified. So there's just a lot of different things, which is why you've got to build those relationships with your team. As a buyer, you have a team. You have your realtor, you have your lender, and you have your title company.
Right.
And each of those pieces are all interlocked, cogs in the machine to work well and get you to that ultimate goal, which is the closing table.
Right. And we were talking about that because it's not that anything is maybe slowing things down. It's just we need to have a right expectation for timing.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of states where the title company, everybody's like, why is the title company not going fast enough? Why aren't things getting done? Honestly, in multiple states, there's title companies that have to spend a week to 2 weeks just in research on the title history of a property. Right. And it's one of those conversations where we get so efficient in everything else. We can do almost instant verification of employment. We can do instant credit check. We can verify people's assets in almost an instant. You can have your documents. You're so versed at it. You have your documents filled out, completed, sent off, clicked, and signed. Honestly, we can have something done in 3 days.
Right. But then guess what? No, this is not in my lane. So I say, I'll talk to your lender about.
Okay.
Then we have TRID. So whether or not you're ready to close or not, you still have to wait. What is it, 72 hours?
So for a full transaction, we've done the study. If from beginning to end, everybody signs everything, legally, you cannot close faster than 10 days on a transaction because of TRID. So how these other lenders are getting things done exactly in 10 days, I'm like, you're amazing. Don't know how you got the title company to work that fast. Don't know how you got your appraiser out that fast, all the things. But there's certain things that you have to set expectations for. Yeah. And then you need to communicate those expectations or possible delays. We have appraisers who we put in an order, and we're not allowed to actually talk to appraisers when we order it. We put it in a system. It's a very blind selection process.
Right.
And then there is a due date presented back to us. Well, we have a due date in our system. We have an inspection date in our system. And then we just hope that they get it out on time. And if they're not communicating us any delays that have happened, people get sick. People have lives. We have weather in some areas. I know it's hot on the West Coast. Apparently on the East Coast, it's extremely frozen still and snow. But there's
Move to San Juan County, New Mexico. It's beautiful.
It's nice and temperate. It's right there temperate. In the middle. We have very mild seasons. It's great. I've had this conversation 3 times now. My assistant, she just came back from Alabama, and she goes, I like my town. I had some gal that's been here for 3 years, and she's like, I'm stuck here. No, you're not stuck here. Farmington's great. San Juan County's great. It's a great place to be.
It is.
But we also have our delays. We have weather. We have technology outages, whatever. And so the communication is key, and constant updates is very important. So people can set expectations and not be at the last minute frustrated.
Definitely.
So it's not so much rushing everybody and saying, okay, well, we're done. Are you done now? It's, hey, we've gotten all of our stuff down. Now we're waiting for this date that we've all agreed upon. Yes. Should be our best date. So,
something like that. Something I like to tell my buyers and sellers too is, okay, well, this is our closing date, but it is a moving target. Sometimes Not too often, but sometimes it gets moved forward, which is so cool and everybody's so happy.
Sure.
But push it out one day, people are going to be upset, but you just have to remember it's a moving target. There's many different things all coming together, especially at that very end, to get you to that closing table. So
I've had people, they hate it when I say that. They hate that I say that the closing is a moving target, especially with my buyers.
Yeah.
And I understand why they get frustrated, because they've all pinpointed this date as our date of transaction. And I want to make sure that our buyers aren't pressured on everything has to happen on this date right here. Yes, this is what we're shooting for. This is our goal. This is what we expect. However, we go back to the conversation. We can't control everybody in the transaction.
Exactly.
We can't tell them, well, you have to do it the way I want to do it. We have to take in that data, and then we discuss it with everybody else and make sure, hey, this date is now most likely where our closing date is it's going to work for everybody.
Communication, again, is just so huge.
Right.
And, you know, as a buyer, I've had this happen a couple of times. Oh, it's no big deal. I just got a new job. Well, guess what? It's a real big deal whenever you're getting your clear to close and they're doing that final verification of employment. Right. Oh, guess what? You changed jobs. And then you really can't get upset that your closing got moved, because now that adds more paperwork on your lending side to make sure that you still qualify for the loan.
Yeah. And it's one of those that you had said it yesterday in our conversation. Everything gets found out.
Yes.
Something always comes up and it's always found out. And, you know, job changes or employment changes, those are a big key factor. Yeah. Credit history, that's a big thing. We do pull credit at the beginning. We verify information on the credit, but when it comes to getting new credit, we find out about that as well.
Yes.
We monitor if any new credit has been gotten. So, you know, we want people, okay, pause everything on your finances as far as obtaining new credit or changing jobs.
Yeah.
But sometimes life happens where you can't, I have this offer, I cannot pass up on a job.
Yes.
So then we need to discuss it and say, okay, well, tell us all the details about this new job. And then let's let all the parties of the transaction know, hi, we will not be able to close until this date because borrower is changing jobs,
right,
which is going to make them more qualified. However, change the time frame.
Right.
So again, going all the way back to that big box lender, not telling the big box lender, not telling your lender anything because you feel judged or you feel unsure or you don't think it's important. You need to tell everybody anyway what's going on, so that way they can process that information.
Exactly.
And they can make sure that it's going to actually end up making the deal work, because they're going to verify everything at the end anyway.
Yes.
So you'd rather get over that hurdle early and work it out early versus at the last minute not being able to close.
Right.
Horror stories abound.
That's something too that, I'll use myself for example. I had one of those, you may have fraud on your account, type of things from my bank. And I was verifying purchases. It was McDonald's on da-da-da-da-da, McDonald's on da-da-da-da-da, McDonald's. I'm like, yes, girl, I go to McDonald's all the time, It's like, don't judge me. But your realtor doesn't see any of that stuff.
Right.
All we know is if you're qualified or if you're not.
Right.
Your lender is going to be the one that's going to ask for bank statements and stuff like that. And spoiler alert, they don't care what you spend your money on. They don't care about your subscriptions. They don't care about your fast food habits. They don't care about all of that so long as your debt to income is where it needs to be. Correct?
To a degree. There is a thing in there that we have to look at, because a lot of the new credit items that are out there, and I can throw names, Klarna, Chime, Affirm.
Oh, yes.
They don't always show up on credit reports.
Okay.
So I'll pull a credit report and we'll have maybe one or two accounts on there. Our qualification on the debt to income ratio so far looks good.
Okay.
But then when we audit the bank statement and we see multiple purchases in and out with Klarna or Affirm or these other subscription services that have a monthly agreement, that actually adds to our debt to income ratio.
Okay.
So we are going to ask about that as well.
I have a question on those ones because I'm not familiar with them. I've just noticed that they've been popping up, the Klarnas, the firms, and whatnot. Is that something that's going to get reported to the credit bureaus? We don't know.
That's the thing. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. Okay. And when we see those reoccurring payments to places like that, we have to ask, hey, do you have a monthly payment minimum you have to make to these different accounts? And again, it's under the same idea of layaway, or I'll purchase the item now and then I'll pay as I go.
Mm-hmm.
And while that sounds okay in the instant to get the item you're looking for, it actually comes back and says, well, how much of a monthly payment do you have to make? And is that going to affect your debt to income ratio?
Right.
And again, a lot of people need to look at their budget and see how they're spending their money every month over month, and make sure that, consistently they're going to be able to handle the new mortgage payment. Now, again, most people have a general grasp of their finances, but when the lender sees it, we need to go in and investigate and make sure you don't have some other account that's not reporting on the credit report.
Sure.
We have some instances where people, they purchase a vehicle on credit, but it's not on the credit report. So they'll pay $300 to a dealership every month to pay for a used vehicle that the dealership's financing in-house, but not on the credit report. So we do look at the bank statements. We do audit those bank statements. Mm-hmm. But we don't judge. We're just looking for expenses that could affect your ability to pay the mortgage back.
Got it.
So again, don't feel judged of what we're looking for. Just know we're trying to make sure that A, you can qualify for the house, and B, we're not going to have a problem at the very last minute. Yeah. So
I can tell you guys, from my experience, nobody that I work with in a transaction, all of our local lenders, our title company, every single realtor that I've ever worked with in San Juan County, nobody wants to see you fail. We want to see you grow and prosper in this property that you've purchased. Your new chapters, your family growing, kids moving out. Then you have to, we want to see you be successful in this purchase. And I'm so happy to say that, I know my judge of character, but I'm so glad that I wasn't in this industry during that crazy boom in was it 2006?
Yep.
Where there was all of the predatory lending and stuff like that, because me personally, my heart's on my sleeve. I'm going to cry with you that's just who I am. God, I would have been I would have quit the industry if I was doing in that time frame. That would have been really, really hard to see people, because you do your best to get people qualified and ready to go, and then to see them lose it. I mean, that's hard.
Well, and we're in a very similar season right now, but the difference is, I think, the regulation. And nobody likes
regulation.
Nobody likes oversight. Nobody likes to, be criticized and put into a box. But compared to back then, there was none.
Yeah.
So with the regulation we have now, and the rules and the guidelines we look at now, with the higher priced houses and the higher interest rates and the cost of living that's so high lately, we're having to make those hard calls for our customers, saying, look, you don't qualify because of all this data.
Yeah.
Versus people trying to do the no income, no asset types of transactions. And that's what that kind of open-ended lending led to such a big decline and a huge crash. And it's one of those that nobody likes rules to have to follow. They like to be their own person, but at the same time, we need those to protect our customers, to protect our economy, to keep us from having that kind of crash.
Yeah,
it's been an interesting comparison to the last couple of years.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to go to the comments. Let's see if I can scroll through it.
Let's see if we've got.
See if we have anybody, and if you have any questions, reach out. Let us know. We're all about answering your questions, because we're in the industry constantly, and we know a bunch of stuff that people don't know the terminology for.
I get caught up on that sometimes. I'll say, like this morning, I say the title has the wire. That's great. I didn't send them many. What? Oh, I'm so sorry. What I meant was your lender sent the wire to title to fund your loan that you're closing on today. So it's like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Right.
Sometimes I forget.
Right. Shorten it up a little bit so that people grasp it. All right. No comments just yet, but if you have any comments, feel free. Throw some questions in there. Let us know if we can help you out with anything. Nothing just yet.
Let's have some activity. Is anybody watching this right now?
Yeah, I've got about 3 viewers in the room right now, so it's good to have you here. We appreciate you joining in.
Absolutely. I literally cannot see that from here.
No, I was really close. I can't see it from back here now. I see a number, but that's about it. Let's see. We had a comparison or a conversation about relational versus transactional. I don't know how to say it. It's the relationship versus the transaction, but it's more of your approach towards the transaction. Are you more relational or are you more transactional? And and you had pushed you're more relational.
I am. I like to tell everybody when I'm working with them, I'm helping guide you through the biggest purchase that you're going to make.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to be comfortable with me. And I am so happy that over the last 8 years, hundreds of people that I've helped, I would say only a small handful have I not gained a relationship out of.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens, and that's okay. But I really pride myself in creating these relationships to where, you know, they're comfortable talking to me, and they know that I'm there for them, because it's like a genuine, for me, it's a genuine like showing of character.
Okay.
So I love that. I'm definitely, you know, in the state of New Mexico, we are transaction brokers.
Okay. So
we have a form if you want us to create agency and make decisions on your behalf. But I always tell people, I'm a transaction broker. I'm going to come to you with questions. You're going to tell me how to respond, and we're going to get to the closing table that way. Okay. But you know, during that time frame, I want my buyers and sellers to feel very comfortable, to be able to ask the questions, you know.
Well, and part of that, I think we were talking about the pendulum between the two, relationship and transaction. Mm-hmm. And, you know, in a transaction, it feels very cold. You feel very, you know, numbers, and emotions aren't considered. Yeah. But then, you know, you swing to the other side towards relationship, and you do have that empathy you have with people. And I mean, how do you judge the point at which you have to be a little bit more transactional, or where does that line get drawn sometimes? For
me, it's not a clear line, because there have been many times where I have gone way too far on the emotional side, and it's like, no, Melissa, I have to tell myself, Melissa, this is not your transaction. They have you to keep the emotions at a calm, the peace and the calm. I don't need to go in with my emotions as well to the transaction. So, and it's happened many times, because I'm a human.
Sure.
And I'm a sensitive darn human. And so I'll get emotional with my folks, but then I just have to remember to pull it back, and, you know.
Okay.
So.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the problem we have, is there's so much anxiety. There's so many emotions attached to a situation, even with sellers. You know, sellers have such an emotional attachment to their home that they've had for a number of years. They've had children, you know, raise up in it. They've had people move out. They've had life happen in it. And then they're taking this history of their family and they're handing it to somebody else.
Yeah.
And that handoff, or that, you know, decision to hand it off, going through so many filters, like inspections.
Yeah.
You know, people get inspections and they get so emotional with them when they're judging how something has been. They're like, hey, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. This doesn't make sense. And, you know, a seller, I've had it happen where, like, I've never had a problem with this ever. Why is this a thing?
Right.
And I mean, how do you navigate that? How do you come up when you have a seller that's doing that?
When working with a seller, I just try to remember to tell them, you know, don't take it personally.
Okay.
Try to see it from their view. You know, yes, it's never given you an issue, but you've had time to know that it exists, or maybe you didn't know it existed.
Sure.
You know, but that's okay.
We live in ignorance. Like,
yeah.
Like there's a spot over my desk right now that's got some water damage, and I just ignore it. Versus calling a landlord and be like, hey, fix my thing, man.
Right.
So it's been, we just live in oblivion sometimes when we're in it. And then finally when somebody calls it out, it's like, oh, you feel ashamed.
Right. But, you know, it's just, okay, don't take it personally. Also, don't go worst case scenario. Let's just get a contractor out here and see what they have to say, because I always tell my buyers and my sellers, okay, we've got our home inspection. Our home inspection is a general inspection of everything. Okay. Home inspectors are not code inspectors or code compliance officers. They are typically not plumbers, electricians, roofers. They don't have what's called GC, the general contractor license. Typically, they don't have that. They're going to give you an opinion of the home today. So they've said, this is a concern. You know, this is what we're here. Okay, fantastic. Let's get somebody more specialized over there to look at it. Many times the general contractor or the roofer will say, oh, it's just ugly. Oh, okay. Then everybody's calm about it again, you know, or sometimes it is an actual issue. Okay. And sometimes it's a big deal, and sometimes it's a $75 fix. You know, so
don't freak out, right?
Don't freak out. Says the person who freaks out frequently.
We keep telling ourselves that.
But yes, But yeah, just get that specialist in to give another opinion and a recommendation.
Okay.
So yeah.
Got
And
it.
you know, it's all figure outable.
Yeah.
You know, so long as we have a meeting of the minds,
Mhm.
that's all we need to go to.
Well, and the worst case scenario, in my opinion, is we don't close. But that's an option, because if it's
That's an
meant
option.
to not be, then it's not meant to be, and we can get there as quick as possible. So that way everybody can move on with their lives.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of the desperation of the deal has to close is a bit of an extra pressure. That's like, I mean, does it actually have to close? Everybody wants it to close, and everybody will work towards getting it to close, but maybe it shouldn't. It, like you said, you have to pre-qualify the house too. The house has to be eligible for this transaction.
Yes.
And it may not even be the lending guidelines. It may be, like you said, the inspection comes back and says, this house isn't meant for this person because this person doesn't have the extra cash to maintain or fix this up. So, okay.
Or skill. Sometimes a buyer will be like, oh, that's totally fine. I can fix X, Y, or Z. And sometimes you'll have a buyer that comes in and they don't, and that's me. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know how to do any of that stuff.
Well, and then you have to worry about the other side of that coin. You know, you have a buyer that's like, yeah, I can absolutely fix that. The problem is they may qualify for, like you said, an FHA loan that has requirements to get fixed. And the lender may say, while you might be able to fix it, we need to make sure it's addressed before you own the house.
Correct.
So a buyer can say, no, I'll take care of it myself. Unfortunately, the rules require this to be, to a degree, paid for. And that just adds so many more complications. That being said, a seller doesn't have to fix it. It has to be addressed, and we would expect the seller to fix it in some situations, but foreclosure banks are a great example. They've already lost as much money as they can because they've had to foreclose. They haven't received any payments on it. So they're not going to do any extra fixes. Right. And they, to a degree, are not even going to pay for the fixes. Yeah. So we look at the buyer and say, hey, do you have the extra money to be able to put this in here? And if they don't, we don't have a transaction that works out. It can get complicated. So it's all this big pool of all the same things we've been talking about: communication, setting expectations, just knowing where things are going to end up as early as possible is the big key. So perfect. Well, we've got about 4 more minutes to hang out. I wanted to see if there's any more comments. Haven't seen anything extra, but again, that's far, far away.
Far, far away.
Let's see what extra we have in here. Nothing new. But if you have any questions, any ideas, any things that you would want to know about lending, real estate, buying a house, selling a house, throw it in there. Let us see. I hit the wrong button. I fat finger everything all the time. Let us know, and we can definitely continue hosting all of these to help you guys out. But yeah, it's been great, Melissa. I appreciate you being on here.
So if you're seeing this, it's either on your FYP or you're following Mike already. Follow him, Pre-Qualify with Mike. I have 2 pages. I do have a business page, Melissa Glasgow Realtor. That one is okay. The more fun one is my personal page, is where I do my sign
We're
photos.
We're cooler in real life than we are on the internet, right? Our professionalism is kind of boring. So
yeah. And mine is at Ducky's Mom, DUCKIES Mom. Because those of you who know me, and now if you don't know me, you're going to learn now. My son, I've called him Ducky since the day he was born. So
probably a whole extra story involved in that.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, guys. We appreciate you being with us.
Thank you for watching.